Hello, welcome to this video. So I really love visiting cities and exploring the bookstores that exist within those cities. I have done a video on Berlin and some bookstores I went to in Berlin, and also in Canterbury and also in York. And I thought I would do one for London as well, as I've been living here for about 5 months now, and I thought it was time to spend a day exploring some of the bookstores that London has. So this bookstore tour that I went on consists of 5 different bookstores, and there is quite a nice route through London that you can do to go to each of the 5. So we started the bookstore tour at Liverpool Street and went to Spitalfields. A great place to visit, love a good market, and there is a bookstore near Spitalfields called Liberia, and this was a really cute little bookstore. It's quite interesting because when you first walk in it looks massive, but that is because there is a mirror at the end which makes it look longer, which is a really clever design, because I think the space is actually it's average size for a bookstore, but it looks a lot longer when you walk in. And they had lots of little fairy lights and a nice little seat to sit in. Had a nice cozy vibe, this one. And very near to Liberia was another bookstore, which is the Brick Lane bookshop, and this was another nice one. A lot of good copies. Far From the Madding Crowd is one of my favourite books. Found a nice copy of that. Also very near to this bookstore is a bagel shop called Hot Bagels, and their staple bagel, not sandwich, their staple bagel is their beef, pickle and mustard, and it's like a salted beef. It was really good. That definitely worth going and tasting that bagel. And it was a beautiful day when we did this bookstore tour, so we sat in a park, ate our lunch, and then we took a nice bus just for 10 or so minutes to go see some more bookstores. Now, after I had my bagel, I was still a little peckish, and there is a great bakery near the British Museum which I really like called Fortitude Bakehouse. They do amazing pastries, and we went there and we got this pistachio cream donut, which was amazing. It also had a rose flavoured tint within the cream. Such a good pastry. The next bookstore we went to was called Skoob Books. Now, I remember visiting London when I was maybe 18 and finding a bookstore that I thought was really cool, but I didn't know where it was. And it turns out it was this bookstore. So I remember approaching it and being oh, I've been here before. Weird. And this is a really cool bookstore. It's in a basement, and they have so many copies of books. I liked how there was a grand piano, and there were books on the grand piano. It gave the impression that the books were almost growing and multiplying. Cool. And I really liked the collection of plays and poetry that they had. I really love reading a play, but it's not so often that in a general bookstore they have a large collection of plays, but in this one, lots of plays to choose from. Then after we left that bookstore, we came across another bookstore called Judd Books. It's very close to Skoob Books, and this was a great one because it had lots of new books for discounted prices, so it was pretty reasonable. And I ended up buying a book in this bookstore. So I'm a big fan of George Orwell. I think 1984 is one of the best books. And I also think Animal Farm and Down and Out in Paris and London are fantastic. I really like the way he writes. I like how he doesn't alienate the audience. I think when I was younger in particular, I sometimes found classics a little bit hard to fall into. Usually it was a bit of a struggle, which can be rewarding sometimes because, once you finally understand a text, you're like, wow, I'm glad I worked through it. It can make your brain sort of feel a bit ignited. But, and George Orwell does the same, but I find that you can just read his books without struggling through them, which is always nice. And so I saw this book, Why I Write by George Orwell, and I decided to buy it. And that is because a couple of weeks ago when I did this bookstore tour, I was feeling a little bit hard to be inspired, which is an infliction that sometimes comes upon me, which I don't appreciate, because I think my life is better when I am feeling inspired. Because it shows that I'm actually enjoying the world enough to be inspired by it. But yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling a bit of writer's block, I suppose you could say. So I thought, let's get this book and find out like why George Orwell writes, and maybe that's going to reignite my desire to write again. And I don't know if it was a result of buying this book or a result of something, but I have been writing a lot in the past few weeks. There was this novel that I'd started that I was slowly sort of trying to work out, and it seems to be on the tracks moving ahead. So we'll see. And yeah, I'm excited about it. So it did this book do it? Maybe. It is a really nice read. It doesn't just focus on why George Orwell writes, but also has some political ideas within it as well. So yeah, definitely recommend. So then from Judd Books we continued walking north, and then we approached the British Library, which is right next to King's Cross. We didn't go in it this time, but I've been in it quite a few times before, and definitely recommend going in the British Library. Really wonderful building, large array of books. Who doesn't love a library? And then just before we headed home, I looked on Google Maps, looked to see if there were any other bookstores nearby, and it said there was a bookstore, a well-rated bookstore within the King's Cross St Pancras station. So I thought, let's go in. And it's called Hatchards, and it was a really nice bookstore. It was just designed really nicely, had a large array of books, had cloth-bound covers, and often when I go into a bookstore with a wide variety of contemporary fiction, or modern fiction that's recently come out, I like to take photos of the ones that grab me for the future when I give myself permission to buy more books. And yeah, if you know any bookstores within London to visit, please let me know. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye bye.